47,000 Macedonians faced 250,000 Persians on an open plain. The Persian king had chosen the battlefield, prepared it perfectly, and waited. He had scythed chariots, war elephants, and overwhelming numbers. But on October 1st, 331 BC, one man's tactical genius destroyed the greatest empire on earth. This is Gaugamela, where Alexander the Great earned his name. 3 years earlier, Alexander had crossed into Asia with one goal: conquer Persia. At age 20, he inherited the throne of Macedonia after his father's assassination. He also inherited his father's dream of defeating the Persian Empire. In 334 BC, Alexander won his first victory at the Granicus River. A year later, at Issus, he defeated the Persian king Darius himself. But Darius escaped, fleeing deep into his empire's heartland. Alexander couldn't pursue immediately, so he secured his rear first. He conquered the entire eastern Mediterranean coast, besieging Tyre for 7 months. Then he marched into Egypt, which surrendered without resistance. The Egyptians hated Persian rule and welcomed Alexander as a liberator. By 331 BC, Alexander was ready for the decisive confrontation. Darius had spent 2 years rebuilding his army and preparing his strategy. He chose the plains near Gaugamela in northern Mesopotamia as his battlefield. The location was perfect for Persian cavalry and war chariots. Darius even had the ground leveled and smoothed to remove obstacles. He assembled the largest army ever seen in Persian history. Estimates range from 100,000 to 250,000 soldiers. The army included warriors from across the vast empire. Bactrian cavalry, Syrian infantry, Indian war elephants, and Greek mercenaries. His secret weapon was 200 scythed chariots with blades on their wheels. These chariots were designed to cut through infantry formations like knives. Darius positioned himself in the center with his royal guard. On his left wing stood Bessus with the finest Bactrian cavalry. On the right was Mazaeus commanding Syrian and Mesopotamian horsemen. The Persian line stretched so wide it outflanked the Macedonian position. Alexander's army numbered only 47,000 troops total. 40,000 infantry, organized in the famous Macedonian phalanx formation. 7,000 cavalry, including his elite companion cavalry unit. Alexander knew he was outnumbered, at least 2 to 1, possibly 5 to 1. But he also knew that Darius had made critical mistakes. The Persian king had ceded all initiative by waiting at a fixed location. Alexander could choose when to attack and how to approach. On the night before battle, Alexander's generals were terrified. Parmenio, his most experienced general, urged a night attack to negate Persian numbers. Alexander refused, saying he wouldn't steal victory like a thief. The truth was more tactical. He needed daylight to execute his plan. That night, while his men slept fitfully, Alexander studied the terrain carefully. He noticed the Persian line was stretched thin, trying to outflank his smaller army. Alexander devised a brilliant but risky strategy called the oblique approach. He would advance at an angle, refusing his left flank while strengthening his right. This would pull the Persian line even thinner, creating gaps. Dawn broke on October 1st, 331 BC, and both armies formed for battle. The Macedonian phalanx stood in the center, 18,000 men in perfect formation. Their sarissas, 18-foot pikes, created an impenetrable wall of spear points. On the left, Parmenio commanded the Thessalian cavalry and allied infantry. On the right, Alexander personally led his companion cavalry. Behind the main line, Alexander positioned a second reserve line. This unprecedented formation could pivot to face attacks from any direction. As the Macedonians advanced, Alexander angled his line to the right. Darius was forced to extend his left flank to prevent being outflanked himself. The Persian line stretched thinner and thinner, exactly as Alexander planned. Darius launched his scythed chariots directly at the Macedonian phalanx. 200 chariots thundered forward, blades spinning on their wheels. But Alexander had prepared for this, with light troops and archers in front. The Macedonian infantry opened lanes in their formation as the chariots approached. Most chariots simply rolled through the gaps without hitting anyone. Those that didn't were destroyed by javelins and arrows from the flanks. The chariot attack had completely failed without causing significant casualties. Meanwhile, Persian cavalry attacked both Macedonian flanks simultaneously. On the left, Parmenio's forces were pushed back but held their ground. On the right, Persian cavalry tried to envelop Alexander's position. Alexander's second line wheeled and counterattacked, preventing the encirclement. The battle became a massive, swirling melee across the entire plain. Then Alexander saw it. A gap had opened in the Persian center. As Persian cavalry moved to the flanks, they had weakened Darius's center. This was the moment Alexander had engineered through his entire strategy. He personally led his companion cavalry in a wedge formation directly at the gap. The wedge was an elite force of heavy cavalry, the finest horsemen in the world. They crashed through the weakened Persian center like a hammer through glass. Alexander drove straight toward Darius's command position in the center. The Macedonian phalanx followed behind, their long pikes pushing forward relentlessly. Darius, seeing Alexander's cavalry charging directly at him, panicked. Just as at Issus 3 years before, the Persian king fled the battlefield. His royal guards tried to stop Alexander's advance, but were overwhelmed. When the Persian army saw their king fleeing, morale collapsed instantly. The massive army disintegrated into chaos as soldiers fled in all directions. Alexander wanted to pursue Darius immediately and capture him. But Parmenio sent urgent messages that his left flank was in serious trouble. Alexander reluctantly turned back to rescue his hard-pressed left wing. By the time he returned, the Thessalian cavalry had already won their fight. The entire Persian army was now in full retreat across the plains. Macedonian cavalry pursued relentlessly, cutting down fleeing Persians for miles. Persian casualties were catastrophic, with estimates of 40,000 killed. Alexander's army suffered only 500 killed and 5,000 wounded. The battle was over by mid-afternoon, a complete and total victory. Darius fled east toward Bactria, hoping to raise another army. But his own nobles, seeing him as a coward, betrayed and killed him. Alexander had destroyed the Persian Empire in a single afternoon of battle. He marched south and entered Babylon, which surrendered peacefully. Then came Susa, and finally, Persepolis, the heart of the Persian Empire. At Persepolis, Alexander seized treasure worth 14 years of Persian tribute. Some sources say he burned the palace in drunken revenge for past Persian invasions. Others claim it was deliberate symbolism. The old empire must die completely. At age 25, Alexander ruled the largest empire the world had ever seen. Gaugamela demonstrated tactical brilliance that is still studied in military academies today. The oblique approach, the refused flank, the second reserve line, all combined to defeat an army 5 times larger on terrain that favored the enemy. Alexander had earned his title, Alexander the Great, undefeated conqueror.